And TGIF, everybody. Welcome into the First Call podcast. Alongside Jeff Siegel, I'm Jeremy Plonk. We're representing First Bet and Express Bet, where our sister track Santa Anita in Jeff's backyard yesterday. It was opening day. 41,000 poured through the turnstiles. Kind of felt like yesteryear at Santa Anita on opening day, Jeff, and the racing was great.
It really was. They bet their money. The card was great. It shows you what California racing can be if you, boost the purses a little bit and entice the horses to come out. Big fields around, and I just thought it was a glorious day. I went outside to see. Okay, sometimes they boost these attendance figures, and then you look out there and say, "There's not 41,000 there." But I think there was. I mean, I really do. It was really crowded. I think this was a legit attendance count, and of course, again, the mutual handle was just superb, and the racing was great as well. I tell you what, Jeremy, if this had been a Friday, okay, not a Thursday, but if this had been a Friday, I think we'd have got 10,000 more people in. Yeah, I'm not sure how many people were off work yesterday, but it's encouraging. Let's put it that way. With all the bad news and all the doom and gloom, to see how Santa Anita can be, really, really pleased with what we saw yesterday.
Third largest opening day handle in track history. So as Jeff said, they sent it in at the windows as well. We will talk a lot more about the opening day races and the fallout from those on our Tuesday podcast. So be sure to check out It's Official on Tuesday, where we'll recap the doings on track at Santa Anita yesterday. As for today, Friday, as we record our podcast, a couple notes for you around the industry. Bobby Frankel Stakes today at Santa Anita, the second day feature. Jeff's got his full card analysis up right now at expressbet.com and at news.first.com. Where if you followed yesterday, you pretty much took down the pick six. Jeff had it doped out beautifully for you for a $9,000 pick six return. And today, late pick five carryover at Gulfstream Park, $217,000 into the late pick five today. Not a jackpot wager, straight pick five. So check that out. Final five races on the Friday card at Gulfstream Park. Also, Jeff, you and I have been talking. We've been waiting around for Brad Cox to have a good-looking 2-year-old colt. He's got all the fillies. Well, yesterday, Gunmetal, one you want to keep an eye on, won in 109-4 at Fairgrounds in the career debut. So we finally have a Brad Cox 2-year-old to talk about. That one, keep the name in mind, named Gunmetal. Let's take a look at the races Jeff and I are about to handicap for this weekend around the country. For those of you watching on YouTube and on X, be sure to like, share this out, comment, help us grow the audience. For those of you on our traditional audio podcast channels, I'll run down the lineup of the 8 races we're about to handicap over the next 30, 40 minutes. The Oaklawn Park feature on Saturday is the Tinsel Stakes. We'll take a look at that one. The road to the Oaklawn handicap, if you will, early in the meet. At Fairgrounds, the 3-year-old turfers are in action in the Woodchopper. At Laurel Park, a pair of 2-year-old stakes, the Gin Talking for the fillies, the Heft for the Colts and Geldings. Down to Gulfstream we go for the turf sprinters in the Abundantia and the dirt sprinters in the Mr. Prospector, including none other than a former Breeders' Cup Classic winner, White Barrio, tuning up for the Pegasus World Cup. And at Santa Anita, the feature races on Saturday, the Joe Hernandez for the turf sprinters and the Blue Norther on the grass. Now, we've got a 20 times first rewards points bonus going at the end of the year here. If you bet Gulfstream Park today, you'll get 20 times first rewards points on all your wagers. So be sure to play Gulfstream on Friday. That same 20 times first rewards points promo goes for Santa Anita on all races on Saturday. And at Laurel Park on Sunday, the same promo. So a lot of great action for you. Also want to let you know the Coast to Coast Pick 5 is back this weekend. Santa Anita and Gulfstream in full swing for their championship and classic meets. So we've got the Coast to Coast Pick 5 back in action. At Gulfstream Park on Saturday, the Coast to Coast Pick 5 races will be races 8, 10, and 11. 2 of the stakes we'll handicap here on the show. And the 2 races from Santa Anita in the Coast to Coast Pick 5, races 6 and 8. 2 more stakes. So you'll be 4/5 of your way home to the Coast to Coast Pick 5 by the time we get to the end of the podcast. But we're going to start things off at Oaklawn Park on Saturday, Jeff Siegel. We go to the Tinsel Stakes here, race number 9 on the card. Mile and an eighth, $175,000. Again, this is the early season race that gets the Oaklawn Handicap Series underway.
Horace Mann is a Phil D'Amato trained horse, and Phil had a great day here at Santa Anita yesterday, but he does have a string at Oaklawn. And I think I don't know whether he's figured Horace Mann out yet, although it's pretty obvious that he's a dirt horse, not a grass horse. He's not terrible on grass, but for some reason, He began his career exclusively as a turf horse, and then all of a sudden, as often happens, you have a race that comes off the turf, and you've entered for turf, and the trainer says, whatever, let him run, we'll see. And all of a sudden, wait a minute, this horse is a dirt horse, because he won for fun when the race came off the turf. Since then, he was a pretty decent third. Then he won, and then he won again. And he's done it at different distances. He's done it on the lead going long. He's done it from off the pace going short. Now he stretches out again to 1.1 miles, and he probably, well, I wouldn't say he'll be the controlling speed, but the pace situation looks soft here. He should be forwardly placed. And if he does make the lead, all the better. Now, 1.1 miles might be stretching his limit, but if the race shape comes up favorable, I think he can get the trip. So I'm going to go with the red hot and razor sharp Horace Mann to continue his winning ways and maybe wire the field.
Field also includes Red Route 1, some familiar names you'll know. Horse I'm interested in here, two of them actually. The two Liberal Arts. This horse is a horse, I love this horse on the Triple Crown Trail last year. Just never really developed, always found himself in trouble in races, and the wheels just kind of came off his season when he was with Robbie Medina. He goes off the complete summer layoff, comes back for Brad Cox, runs a career top figure in his first race for Brad Cox in the slop at Churchill in November. If he stays in the race, Liberal Arts one to consider in here for sure in the Tinsel Stakes. And Frosted Departure, a horse on the rail. I saw this horse in person at Laurel back in July in the deputed testimony. That was on the DeFrancis undercard. And he looked like lone speed that day. And once he got on the lead, he was confident. And he looked like a freight train coming down the lane. He's got the rail. There's not a lot of speed in this race, and in 1.1 miles, I can see people trying to reserve horse. If this Chris Hartman trainee under Walter De La Cruz goes aggressively to the front and controls the pace, don't be surprised if Frosted Departure doesn't get a big heart. He went 45 and change and collapsed last time going a mile at Churchill. They'll probably go closer to 49 here at Oaklawn, and that's a whole different kind of ball game. And if they go high 48, 49, he could get really brave on the front end. So don't be surprised if Frosted Departure not one to watch there in the Tinsel Stakes at Oaklawn. Let's change gears now and go to our second track. We're headed to the fairgrounds for the Woodchopper Stakes on Saturday. Woodchopper is race number 9, 1 mile and a 16th. This race named for the 1981 Louisiana Derby winner who came back and ran second, beaten less than a length by Pleasant Colony in the Kentucky Derby of 1981. The Woodchopper on the turf, 3-year-olds at the end of their sophomore campaigns. Who'd you end up with here at Fairgrounds, Jeff?
I ended up with McVeigh, and it's basically a one-angle pick. In other words, sometimes you make a pick because you see the horse's lone speed or maybe an off track. McVeigh, the thing that I'm leaning on with this former California-based horse is the trainer change to Cherie DeVoe. I mean, she is really a good trainer. You know, Jeremy. I mean, she's got the filly that ran out here yesterday, but she does. What I noticed about her is that she does well with all types of horses. Sprinters, routers, grass horses, fillies, colts. It doesn't matter. And this is going to be a first time for this stable after racing in California and being up and down. Now, he ran some good races, so I know he's got the ability, but he's also ran some clunkers. And if you look at what Cherie's done with some of these projects, I guess, she's done some really, really good work. So McVeigh, to me, is trying grass for the first time. I can't say that that's necessarily going to be a difference. It might. I hope it is. But I know he's been freshened since September. I look at his workouts at Keeneland, and I don't remember him being that great a workhorse when John Sheriff had him. And he looks like maybe he's perked up a little bit. And again, here's the thing. It's just a one-angle type of pick, but he is 10-1 in the morning line. And these are what 10-1s are made of. You're looking for something that is different, that might perk up. And if you're betting on a horse that has back numbers that can win, it's not like you're reaching that badly. So I like McVeigh at 10-1. I mean, he could run nowhere. But the gamble for me at 10-1 is there that, number one, he will improve for a new trainer, that he'll like the grass, that he'll run well fresh, and then he'll run back to his 95 buyer number, which he earned here at Santa Anita. And that's good enough to win if he can transfer it. So that's my gamble. 10-1 on McVeigh.
Laganos is the morning line favorite. He snapped a long losing streak last time out when Flavian Pratt got him home at Churchill in the Commonwealth. No Flavian Pratt. He's out in California. I think Laganos is beatable in this spot like you. You're going 10-1. I thought the 15-1 shot number 4, Camaro Z, merits a little bit of a look in here. Freshened since June, this horse can be up near the pace in a pretty modestly paced race the way it looks. Inside draw because the 4-hole, the 1, the 2, and the 3 have absolutely no speed at all. Pedrosa should be able to get whatever trip he wants on Camaro Z. We'll see if this one can fire fresh and run a decent race in here for Greg Foley. Only beaten a little bit by Laganos, beaten a couple heads when they matched up in June. Why take 5-2 on Laganos or less and get 15-1 on Camaro Z? I think fresh with a good trip. I'll take the 4 in there. Jeff's got himself a price with the 8. So 4-8 exacta box, and let's get home with something like, $80, $100 exacta wouldn't be too shabby for $2 in there. Let's move now to Laurel Park on Saturday, final weekend of the year. Laurel Park finishes up with the 2-year-olds getting last call before birthdays turn them 3 and send them on the Oaks and Derby Trail. The Gin Talking Stakes for the 2-year-old fillies, the first of the 2 stakes. 7 furlongs. This is named for the Maryland Million Lassie, an Oaks winner who won 7 and 11 lifetime. She also won the Grade 3 Anne Arundel Stakes, so good filly there locally. Gin Talking, the stakes race in her name, has the 2-year-old fillies in action. And Jeff, nobody's been better in Maryland this year than Caprice with the 2-year-old fillies. She won the Smart Halo. She came back and won the Maryland Juvenile Fillies. She's 1 second-place finish away from being undefeated in 6 starts. Do you see anybody warming up the Cal Lynch training?
I wouldn't think so. I really like the way they've campaigned her, though. They haven't asked her to do anything more than what she's capable. Mm-hmm. I don't like – sometimes you get ambitious and you try – tougher company, and the horse and the filly gets beat off, and then we'll just take her back. And sometimes they don't come back. They get discouraged a little bit. But if you look at Caprice, and all you have to do really is look at the odds at which she's gone off at. They have the 2 favorite, 4-5, 3-5, 1-5, 8-5, 6-5. I mean, she's always in a spot where she should run well, and she does run well. That's the good thing. She's 4-5 on the morning line here. I really kind of admire this Pennsylvania bred filly. I also like the fact that she's got a style that I like. She doesn't need to lead the win. In fact, she's much more comfortable stalking the pace. As a matter of fact, she's never been on the lead except for her last start. But other than that, she likes to settle and then give you a second move. So I don't see any reason why she won't win again. And as long as they keep her in her element, I think she'll continue to win.
And I mentioned she only has that 1 second-place blemish. That was a 2-turn mile at Delaware Park. Around 1 turn, nobody's beaten her yet in 5 starts. My Charm is the fresh face in here and probably the biggest threat. Second in the Salima Stakes in the mud in a 1-turn mile. That was an off-the-turfer there. But Brittany Russell's got this one with Sheldon aboard. And, again, a filly who's run 4 times. She's never run a bad one. 2 wins, 2 seconds. And this will be her first time matching up head-to-head with Caprice. So that's kind of the showdown to me. Caprice and My Charm in race number 7. At Laurel, that being the Gin Talking Stakes. We go to the Heft Stakes in race number 8. These are the 2-year-old colts in Maryland. This race named for the late Arnold Heft, who was owner of 8 Too Fast to Catch, a horse who won multiple editions of the Maryland Million Classic, but he was more famously the owner of the NBA franchise, the Baltimore Bullets, before they ended up moving to Washington and sold to Abe Pollin and Company, and now the Washington Wizards. But one-time owner of the Baltimore Bullets, Arnold Heft, this race is named in his honor. A field of 10 in here, Jeff, and we're both on the same horse in here, but for different reasons. You probably like number 3, one-man team, because what he did on the track. I like him because he was once my pro wrestling nickname. Everybody, when I was a kid, had our own pro wrestling nicknames, and I nicknamed myself the One-Man Dream Team. That was my name for my pro wrestling name in middle school. So I'm going one-man team in here for a reason that has nothing to do with gambling.
And that might be the best reason of all.
I didn't wear a mask or anything like that.
Yeah. One-man team, a Nyquist colt. They gave some money for him, $285 as a yearling, and this is the kind of horse that you'd expect to show up at Saratoga or New York or somewhere. And instead, they sent him to Maryland at Fair Hill, but he trained at Laurel. And he was, he wasn't bet off the board like he was going to win for fun, but he was, he got action and he figured to, and he won. The thing that I liked about him, even though it wasn't a blazingly fast race, is that he gave me the impression of 2 things. One, that he wasn't really 100% cranked up and kind of did it anyway. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is that he drew off in the final furlong as if to indicate that he will like 7/8. And so he's not one of these speed horses who's going to hang on and be looking for the wire, at the 8th pole. Right. So I expect him to produce a forward move here. And a 2-year-old colt by Nyquist, they can get better with age, and I expect this colt will too. And again, I like the fact that they're allowing him to move up the ladder at a gradual rate. They're not going after the big boys. They say, look, you're not ready for that yet. Maybe in the winter you might be, but right now let's just don't bite off more than you can chew. Right. And I think one-man team here at 2-1 in the morning line will step forward, and perhaps even though he doesn't have the experience, I think he's got more upside than the others.
Let's get a look at that Brittany Russell trainee in the career debut win.
They race to the top of the stretch where it's one-man team who takes him on for home. Bernie the Star running huge on the outside. Here comes Bernie the Star. Bernie the Star outside. One-man team is digging down, though. One-man team final furlong. An extra gear opens up 2.5 from Bernie the Star. By Tom, a beer gaining on the far outside to run to the second spot. But it is one-man team and Jevion Toledo. They clear by almost 5 at the finish.
He'll have Sheldon Russell aboard this time after Toledo rode in the debut. 2 stakes winners in the field for the Heft, existing stakes winners already. Sacred Thunder, winner of the James F. Lewis already this meet for the Capuano barn. And Crab Daddy, upset winner of the Pennsylvania Nursery at Parks for trainer Linda Albert, brings this one back to the Laurel home base. So Crab Daddy already won stakes on the road. Now gets a home game, if you will, looking for another stakes in the Heft. Let's go now to Gulfstream Park on Saturday, South Florida, the championship meet in full swing, where co-features on Saturday go as races 8 and 10 on the card. As we look at these 8th and 10th races, want to remind you that the Abundantia kicks off the Coast to Coast Pick 5 on Saturday. Again, your Coast to Coast Pick 5 races will be 8, 10, and 11 from Gulfstream. Santa Anita races 6 and 8. So again, we're about ready to look at 4 of those races in the Coast to Coast Pick 5 here as we wrap up the podcast. We start things off with the Abundantia Stakes, named for the Greek goddess of abundance. Hopefully you'll have an abundance of cash after Jeff's pick in this race. Jeff, I thought this race had a potentially very hot pace. You're looking for that, maybe a finisher who's just going to get the race kind of gift wrapped to him. And then I can't find a really good closer in the race, so I'm not quite sure how this one shakes out. I thought maybe the closer could be in here with Irad to the outside, that being Karaya, a horse who last time did close on the Tapeta. But it's taking a deep closer going 5/8 of a mile on a turf sprint's never the best way to go either. I'm not quite sure what to do with this race, so I need some help.
Well, I like Mrs. Gambolini, and she's always been well regarded. They gave a lot of money for her as a yearling. Won her debut at Gulfstream Park. That was the all-weather, so that doesn't tell you anything, but she did it the right way. She sat off the pace and then blasted home. Then they tried her in at Kentucky Downs, and she was actually favored in that race in a 12-runner field and allowance race, and she finished 4th, and she was part of that pace and then kind of faded and lost her punch. But I think she might be best if held up a little bit. In other words, I'm not saying take her back to last, but no. I mean, don't gun her off her feet. Let her come out of the gate. Let her settle somewhere in the middle, and then push the button from at that 3/16 ball. Sit, and then explode. Right. And that's what she did in her last race, an allowance race, and she earned an 89 buyer, which was the same figure that she earned in her debut in the all-weather. And that's good. I mean, that makes her a very, very good filly. Now she's 3, but there's still plenty of room to improve, and now she goes from allowance to stakes, and I do think that she's going to get that kind of trip. It's kind of weird that 4th race, and she's very good, and she's had 4 different riders. But if you watch the tape, you can probably figure out what she wants to do and how she wants to be ridden. So inside draw, hopefully she doesn't get shut off. Number 1, Mrs. Gambolini, to win the 8th at Gulfstream Park.
If she gets that stalk and pound strip, the race is really going to set up for her. That's for sure, the way it looks on paper. Let's go back and look at that win in Allowance Company last out as she gets set for her stakes debut.
As they round the turn, the trailers in the field include Jokes Up, and also toward the back of the pack, as they come to the top of the stretch, Val's Gal and Olympic Prank. They straighten in after a quarter and 21 seconds flat. Here comes Mrs. Gambolini up on the outside of Check the Grade to take over and draw clear. And Mrs. Gambolini is drawing away with every stride. Mrs. Gambolini with a big statement here.
Let's go 110. Jeff's horse on top, getting a better trip. My horse coming from way far out of it, and maybe coming up a little short going to 5-8. So 110, the way we'll say it, in race number 8. Maybe use both if you're starting off the coast-to-coast pick 5 in there, and hopefully we'll get some fair prices. To the Mr. Prospector Stakes we go. Race number 10 next up, and this one's really about White Abarrio. We thought we might see White Abarrio in the Harlan's Holiday as a prep race towards the Pegasus World Cup, but after his allowance win sprinting, they decided to sprint him one more time in the Mr. Prospector. He's back in the barn of Safi Joseph. He earned a big number last out, winning by 10 lengths, 100 buyer speed figure. Will this race, the Mr. Prospector at 7/8 of a mile, serve that 2 sprints to a route that you like in the form cycle, Jeff? What do you make of White Abarrio on Saturday?
I wouldn't doubt if Safi had thought about that. The old 2 sprints and a stretch out. He won his first start back, and he never really had to take a deep breath. I mean, he just kind of galloped around there, and he still earned a triple-digit buyer number. Now he'll have to step it up, but there's no doubt that he's good enough to do that if he's right. And you use this 7 furlong race, and then he's got the old 2 sprints and a stretch out angle,
right?
For the Pegasus, and the way he ran, and he wasn't knocked about at all. I mean, he was not asked, still won. They'll ask him today because they want to make sure he's fit. But to me, White Abarrio not only will win this race at a short price, but I mean, to me, he's good. I think he might end up being as good as he was a couple of years ago. And if he's that, he absolutely would be the horse to beat in the Pegasus.
Let's take a look back at that race, then we'll talk about some of the challengers he might find in the Mr. Prospector.
The half is 45-4, and White Abarrio trying to tackle Flying Liam. Vladislav moves up at the outside third with a quarter of a mile left to run. It's White Abarrio who has taken over. Flying Liam had little resistance dead at the inside. It's far back to the rest. White Abarrio is opening up here under Irad Ortiz. It's White Abarrio, the South Florida stroll. It is homecoming to Gulfstream Park. He was as advertised here, the big favorite.
Big time effort there. White Abarrio will not have a walk in the park, though, in the Mr. Prospector. You got Mufasa in here, a horse very talented. Won the Vosburg by daylight before trying to stretch out around 2 turns at Del Mar in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. He's back to 1-turn racing. And Illuminaire's done nothing wrong, winning 3 of 4 for Todd Pletcher and doing it in pretty impressive style in the victories. So a good-looking field in here for the Mr. Prospector, Jeff. Mufasa or Illuminaire? Who do you like second best in there of that 2?
Probably Illuminaire. I think he's got more upside. He won his last start, 98 buyer numbers, so that's a career top. And again, a colt by City of Light with only 4 starts. City of Light got better with age. We know that. His get usually do. And I've seen him, he had 1 clunker 2 races back when he was favored. But other than that, I mean, what has he done wrong?
No.
The only thing is I just think that, 2 things. Hard to go against 6 wins and 7 starts at Gulfstream Park, which is what a White Abarrio has done. And it's really hard to go against Safi Joseph at this stage of the game. So that's why I give White Abarrio the edge. But this is a good race. This is a really good race. And I would expect that, at least 1, maybe 2 or 3 will come back and run on the Pegasus race.
I'm a bit of history buff on these stakes races. The Mr. Prospector, I failed to mention a little about who Mr. Prospector was. One of the greatest sires of modern times, the sire of Conquistador Cielo, Tanks Prospect, Gulch, 49er, and Fusaichi Pegasus. He sired winners of all 3 Triple Crown races. At one point in the 80s, Mr. Prospector, Jeff, stood for $460,000. 40 years ago, stood for $460,000 for a foal. Unbelievable. Set 2 track records as a racehorse. Garden State, 6 furlongs and 108 and change. Gulfstream, 107 and 4 back in 1973. Set the track record for 6 furlongs at Garden State and Gulfstream. Then went on to sire a bunch of classic winners, top sprinters. The funny thing is we say they don't make them like they used to. Mr. Prospector only ran 14 times in his career, had a fractured sesamoid, and his career was cut short. So he's the exception to that yesteryear thought process. He was really hard on himself. He was really fast, and he turned out to be just a tremendous producer.
Raised a native stallion, and he was brilliant. Sometimes those kinds of horses, and I've seen them, they go to stud, they're supposed to be good, and they end up getting a lot of unsound horses that can't stay. He was the opposite. I mean, he could get horses that could go a mile and a half on grass, even though he couldn't run farther than 7/8. And a great sire of sires as well. So, yeah, I mean, if anybody deserves a stakes name after him, it is Mr. Prospector. And the only thing I'll say is this is only a grade 3. He deserves a grade 1 somewhere, but this is not a grade 3 type of race. This is a better race than that. So this year's edition came up really, really good.
Back when he was getting $460,000 a pop, you probably could have bought half the houses on a street in Lexington, Kentucky at that time for $460,000.
Here's another thing, Jeremy. Nowadays, they can breed up to, I don't know why they do it or how they do it, but you can breed a horse 200 times, and you can also shuttle them to South America.
Yeah.
You can make that buck go a long way, you know.
Yeah.
When Mr. Prospector went to stud, and this was about let's see, when would he have gone to stud?
Like 75-ish.
Yeah, they only bred 40 mares a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the jockey club would allow, you know. But he was a gold mine back then. Can you imagine if a horse like that would have been like he is now? Well, we got something similar, like Into Mischief, and there's a few others that you can breed forever, you know, and get a lot of stud fees that way. But back then, he was the king.
One last note on this Mr. Prospector before we change gears and go to Santa Anita, Jeff. For a coast-to-coast pick 5 player, would you single White Abarrio in there, or would you get coverage around them?
Well, it depends on what how big your ticket wants to be and what you like in the other races. But I would gamble on them. I mean, you know, it's okay to spread a little bit if you're using 8, 10 to 1 shots, whatever. You think the race might go to a long shot. You're not sure who. But I don't want to spread with the first 3 favorites. I mean,
and that's probably what you would end up. Yeah, right. Your protection in this race.
Just be right or be wrong. Or if you don't know, then don't play it. You know, you get a lot of opportunities to play. You don't have to play
that option in your back pocket. I always say. You can't control your winning tickets in horse racing, but you can control your losing tickets.
That's true.
You can control what you lose. Let's go to our schedule and to Santa Anita on Saturday, where the co-features on day 3 of the Classic meet are the Joe Hernandez and the Blue Northern Stakes. Joe Hernandez will be race number 6 on the card. It's also our express bet race of the week. And race number 8 is the Blue Norther. If you want that race of the week analysis, you can check it out in the blog section at First Bet and Express Bet, or have it emailed to your email inbox. Be sure to sign up for the email newsletters for First Bet and Express Bet to get the race of the week analysis. Of course, the Joe Hernandez, named for the first and for many decades, the only voice at Santa Anita. Track announcer Joe Hernandez from 1934 to 1972, the voice of the Great Race Place, this downhill turf sprint named in his honor. And Jeff, this came up with a really good field. Grade 2, $200,000. You got Motorius in there coming out of a second place finish in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. A deep field, good gambling race. This is a pretty good one.
Really is, and it's familiar faces. And I like these old geldings who sprint on the grass. They don't run very often because they don't have that many races written for them.
Right.
But if you have a good trainer managing a horse's career, as Phil D'Amato has done with Motorius, you can see Motorius has only run 10 times in the last essentially 2 years. Mm-hmm. And he's got 10 starts, 4 wins, and 3 seconds. You know, he steps it up. And although he has, been freshened now since the Breeders' Cup Turf, in which he got beat a neck, and he didn't really have any excuse that day. He just ran well.
Yeah.
I noticed in the 2 months in the interim, he really has looked sharp in the morning. He is as eager as he's ever been. And the one thing about Motorius is he doesn't need to carry his racetrack with him. He can run at Del Mar, Santa Anita. He can run on the flat. He can run down the hill. The only thing that he prefers to do, and Fraser who knows this, is he doesn't want to be messed with early. Just let him come out of the gate, let him get his rhythm. And then maybe halfway through the race, now it's time to pick it up. And he can really smash it. If you try to use him on the lead, he kind of gets mad. Mm-hmm. So I think that you'll probably see him settle somewhere in the middle and then blast home, as he did in the Breeders' Cup Turf. And he just ran out of ground at 5/8.
Right. And Jeff mentioned seeing this horse train in the morning with Notorious and how well he's looked. You don't have to get up at 5 a.m. and get out the Clocker's Corner at Santa Anita to do that. We've got the videos for you at xbtv.com. You can be sure to check out all the workout videos from the crew at Santa Anita all season long. They had more than 80 workouts in the workout report for opening day of horses who were running yesterday. Another full workout report set for today for horses in today at Santa Anita, each and every racing day. Be sure to go xbtv.com, and you can just search by the horses' names as well for any workouts that you want to look up, whether you want it just from a news standpoint of who worked today or from a gambling standpoint where you want to analyze the workouts of the horses today. Use the search feature, the workout reports, and get set for the action at Santa Anita. But those workout reports were very valuable to you yesterday, Jeff. It helped you identify Copion, a horse who paid over $70 in winning the La Brea Stakes. We said it was one of the best gambling races on dirt we'd seen at Santa Anita in a long time. You identified the workout of Copion in our Tuesday podcast where we were previewing opening day at Santa Anita, and that was fortuitous and good fortune as well in doing so.
One thing I want to say about our clocking team is they have an advantage over the guys who do it, private clockers sit in the grandstand and clock whatever is out there. Mm-hmm. They know who's working because they get a list of the horses that are going to work that morning. And so they can go over the list and say, okay, we got to get that one. That's a Baffert one that's supposed to be a hot shot. That's a comebacker. That's a horse that's getting better. They can go out there looking for horses that are going to breeze because they know who they are. Mm-hmm. And the ability to recognize what the gambler is going to want to see helps. Okay, we're not just out there randomly, clocking horses and whatever they are. So that's an edge, and I think that and the crew does a very good job, and I give them all credit because while they're working, I'm sleeping. I guarantee you. But when they go out there, they get the calls, they have the list, and they know before the horse works who they should get, and then that's why we try to find horses in which the information and the workouts and the video is needed for the gambler. We need to know what that horse looks like, and they obviously you can't get them all. Sometimes they work in a rush, but I tell you what, they do a great job, and I would. I'm not sure I would be doing this anymore without them. I can tell you that.
You've got Notorious on top in the Joe Hernandez. Let's go back and take a look at his most recent start in that Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. He's the 2-horse in the white blinkers. He's not going to get a call, but he's going to rally up to get second in here. So check out Notorious motoring through the lane.
Iran Ortiz and Cockburn have a 4-length lead at the top of the stretch here in the Turf Sprint. They come bounding by the 8-pole clear. Izzy Bungu Bungu tries to gain ground. Then A.G. Bullet. Starlust is rallying up the rail, and they're getting to Cockburn now. Here comes A.G. Bullet. Here comes Starlust. Starlust comes from the clouds to win.
Notorious, the local, he's back. Starlust is back overseas. We don't have to worry about that one again until maybe Breeders' Cup time 2025. But that's a look at the field and the race for the Joe Hernandez co-feature, race number 6 on Saturday at Santa Anita. Again, Jeff, maybe Notorious, a potential single. I would single him. Looking at that coast-to-coast pick 5, I'd try to get something else in one of the other races. I like him quite a bit in this.
Yeah, I mean, he's the obvious top pick. Now, again, strategy goes and if you think he might be vulnerable, there's a few others in here that Unconquerable King, Central Dispatch is a lightly raced Improving Gelding by Arrogate. I mean, I could see throwing them in somewhere, maybe on a smaller ticket there for protection. Sereno Sky, another Phil D'Amato horse, he's in good form. So, I mean, but to me, Notorious is the right top pick. Right. But it's still a hillside grass grab bag, and sometimes, they all finish together, and you got to get lucky.
All right, so maybe you spread a little bit more in that race, looking at the coast-to-coast pick 5, according to Jeff. He mentioned Phil D'Amato having a good day yesterday at Santa Anita, 2 wins and a second on opening day for Phil D'Amato, off to a really good start. To the 8th race we go, also part of the coast-to-coast pick 5, the co-feature Saturday at Santa Anita is the $100,000 Blue Northern. This is a mile on the turf, named for the 1964 Santa Anita Oaks and Kentucky Oaks winner, the Blue Northern. Jeff, on the grass, who'd you pick in this one?
Well, I looked at Will Then's race in the Jimmy Durante, and she was 10-1 that day, even though she was coming off a win at Woodbine. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't find fault with it, really. I mean, they went a little fast for the race, and they might let us set it up for a closer. but she's an easy filly to spot, the big blazed filly, and she took the Overland route, and she came home in 24-1. At least the race was timed in 24-1. She obviously came home faster than that,
right?
Because she was not near the lead, and she was also in the parking lot. I liked her. I mean, even though if you look at her breezes, I mean, breeze since the race, she looked good at doing it, even though it was just a 50 and change. I don't see why Will Then can't win again.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Resolve, number 7, ran well. I think she's getting better. And Super Speed, I like this comment. This tells it all in her last race. Excuse me. Brutal trip.
Yeah, brutal.
That tells that she did. So I think the winner's one of those 3. And I think Will Then deserves top billing, but I could see Resolve step up. She's getting better for Leonard Powell, Midnight Loot Billy. And then Super Speed, who had no chance in her last race, switches to Pratt. That's I mean, even though she was ridden by Hernandez, I mean, he switched to Pratt. You better give it a second look. And I think Super Speed's going to run well as well.
And Flavien Prat, we've been following his pursuit of the all-time record for most graded stakes win in a year. Got that 56th win yesterday in Stakes Company. So, Lady of Gosford, I believe, was the one that he got the victory on. So Flavien Prat now with 56 graded stakes wins in 2024, breaking Jerry Bailey's record from 2003. Super Speed, of course, the mount for Pratt here. This is just a listed stakes race, but he's also got the record for most listed stakes wins and overall stakes wins in a season this year. So what a year it's been for Flavien Prat. I think Super Speed is the one who's the alternative to Jeff's top pick in here as well. That is Will Then. Let's go back and see Will Then in victory, swooping by them late for Jonathan Thomas in the Strawbridge Silks.
Resolve is after that. Dandy Vandy's bottled up in traffic toward the inside. And then on the far outside, C'est La Vie Charlie. Tigerish is the leader. Castilou is coming on. Will Then now circles up on the outside. Sea Runner is after that. Resolve, who lost ground, is trying to get back into the race too, but it's Will Then. Will Then and Vince Cheminot take the Jimmy Durante. Castilou was second. Resolve was third. And Sea Runner was fourth.
Those back from the Durante, they'll go in the Blue Norther head-to-head on Saturday. Santa Anita, race number 8. Again, that is part of the Coast to Coast Pick 5. Saturday's Coast to Coast Pick 5 races are Gulfstream 8, 10, and 11. Santa Anita 6 and 8. Also, if you're playing the Coast to Coast Pick 5, remember that's a Saturday wager as well as a Sunday wager. So I'll give you for the first time on the show the races for Sunday for the Coast to Coast Pick 5 if you're handicapping ahead. Sunday's Coast to Coast Pick 5, Gulfstream 7 and 10, Santa Anita 3, 5, and 7. Gulfstream 7, 10, Santa Anita 3, 5, 7. Those are the Coast to Coast Pick 5 races for Sunday. And again, get in on that 20 times rewards points. First rewards points up for grabs. 20 times points on all wagers today on Friday at Gulfstream with a $217,000 late pick 5 carryover. So just play the late pick 5, and whatever you play on that, you're getting 20 times rewards points, which of course the rewards points can be redeemed for wagering credits. They can be redeemed for past performances and data and swag that you buy out of the pro shop. A lot of uses for the first rewards points. 200 times points today at Gulfstream. Saturday, 200 times points for Santa Anita. And on Sunday, 200 times points for Laurel Park. So they've lost their mind in the promotions department, giving away all these points here at the end of the season. So be sure and take advantage of that here on the final weekend of racing for 2024. Jeff, this is a pretty good one. Looking forward to it. And I know you're looking forward to more success and more great racing out at Santa Anita.
Yeah, I always operated under the saying or the advice of don't play the card, don't let the card play you. And that means, when I was growing up, you went to the track and you had 8 races or 9 races, and that was it. You better. And sometimes you'd play races that you just didn't like, but it's the only game in town.
Yeah.
Now, and this has obviously been going on since simulcast racing took hold, but with all these opportunities you have, you can sit back and pick your spots.
Yeah.
And the Coast to Coast wager is an excellent wager if you like, if you like it.
Right.
You might say, man, I love the couple horses at Gulfstream. I like it. That's when if you don't like it, there's other alternatives. You got a massive menu here to choose from. And you have to work at it, but it's there for you if you want to. And there's money to be made, much more opportunities now than ever before. So I think it's great, and it's really challenging for the guy who likes to sit down, get his PPs out, handicap, and then go to the races and give himself a best chance.
Well, we hope you have a great weekend. Jeff and I will be back on Tuesday, New Year's Eve, daytime edition, of course, but we'll be back on Tuesday with our It's Official podcast where we wrap up the weekend, take on some hot topics. So maybe we'll look at some of our best of 2024s. It'll be the final day of the year. And when we come back on this show next time, it'll be Friday, January the 3rd, and we'll be looking at our first stakes races of 2025 on the program. So on behalf of everybody with First Bet and Express Bet, my partner, Jeff Siegel, Happy New Year, happy holidays. We'll see you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend, and Boomer Sooner, we've got a game to play today.
Good luck.